You're watching India Today Global, the big story that we're tracking. Gaurav and I over here, managing editor Gaurav Sawant joining me on one of the biggest stories of recent times, pager attack in Lebanon. Right now, nobody's claimed responsibility, but we know where that has come from. There was a concerted effort for Israel to respond to Hezbollah. And it is one of the strangest news. It is not the first time that this has happened, Gaurav, that they're using heat sensors, so on and so forth. But tell us exactly what happened that led to these pages exploding across Lebanon, wounding of around 1,000 Hezbollah fighters and some civilians. So just take us through what really happened here.
It's like the biggest thing that has happened in recent months. What's happened is across Lebanon, pagers started exploding. In today's day and age, you are not even used to pagers anymore. I used to have a pager in 1997, 98. In India, nobody carries a pager anymore. But when you look at these images, that's one of the Hezbollah fighters who was out in the market shopping and buying vegetables. That's when his pager rang. A pager is an alphanumeric.
There you go. Yeah. You can see it.
So it's a one-way communication device. Lebanon and the Hezbollah have recently bought a large consignment of pagers.
Recent. Let's put recent in perspective, Gaurav. So, 2 months.
Just two.
That's the kind of advance.
Couple of months. You're absolutely right. And the death toll has gone up to eight dead and 2,750 injured. This is just like 1 minute ago. The health ministry in Lebanon has just issued a statement just 1 minute ago saying 8 dead, 2,750 injured. There's emergency that's been declared across Lebanon in all hospitals. So all hospitals are packed to capacity. They have no more ambulances, no more beds in hospitals. All emergency workers have been asked to report to duty because this toll unfortunately would go higher. The government's also issued another message right now asking everybody, if you have a pager, just get rid of it. That pager could explode.
A very important point that Gaurav is making right now is this, that nobody carries a pager. Only those who are involved in extremist activities and don't want to get or be found are the ones who use pagers as a method of communication, a mode of communication.
A one-way mode of communication.
You get
information.
Get your message and you
know
exactly
execute your task.
That's all.
And it's all coded.
It's all coded.
So
Israel knew that. And this happened a few months in advance when a huge consignment was ordered by Lebanon. So they knew exactly where it was headed and where it was going. But the timing of it, why? Firstly, how is it done? There's some process and method of sending signals to an extent that they heat up and then they explode.
So that will be a matter of investigation because a lot of these devices are now being collected by the government as they explode, as people are injured. And some of them are very senior people, including Iran's ambassador to Lebanon. His name is Mustafa Amini. He's been injured. And how was he injured? The initial information seems to indicate that one of the Hezbollah fighters was his bodyguard. So he was very close to his bodyguard and it exploded.
That's how completely intertwined the entire society in Lebanon is when it comes to Hezbollah fighters. They might have a day job too.
Yeah.
And they still might be working for the Hezbollah, not in terms of the government, but in terms of the wing, the militant or military wing that is stationed at the border. So it is as bad as that.
So when I was reporting from Lebanon in 2004, and that time tensions with Israel were quite high. Between Israel and Lebanon, you have the Indian Army that's a part of the United Nations protecting that area. Yes. So tensions used to be so high, you wouldn't know who's a Hezbollah fighter, who's a civilian, who's a Lebanese security forces personnel, because they would actually operate in tandem. Right. That was then. Now it must have perhaps intensified for the simple reason that they're in conflict with Israel. Israel has continuously bombarded a lot of Hezbollah strongholds, but Israel hasn't claimed responsibility officially. The Hezbollah have blamed Israel officially. In fact, the government in Lebanon, they've ordered an investigation, but they too are indicating that this is the handiwork of Israeli intelligence agencies.
But this could lead to massive response by Hezbollah. We are seeing all the reactions. We're seeing what Israel is doing. Israel is determined. It has not stopped with its attacks or its offensive. And despite the fact that they fear that there could be, I know you have to leave, Gaurav. So just a few quick questions. One is that despite that, they know that uh, these are attacks that will initiate response from Hezbollah, and yet they've done it. The timing of it.
You and I have reported from Israel, like what's the situation on ground? They've been hit by Hamas, which was the worst terror attack ever.
Including Hezbollah.
And initially, on the 7th of October, they were hit by Hamas. It's the worst that could have happened to them, worse than their worst nightmare. Even Fodder, and I spoke to some of the people who worked at Fodder, the series, and they said their worst nightmare was a couple of people will infiltrate and there would be some attacks, and they wargamed it, and they've done a series on it. This was thousands of fighters coming into their country, thousands of Hamas terrorists coming into their country and killing thousands, 1,200 by some accounts, and if not more. Plus, then Hezbollah attacks them. Plus, Houthi rebels attack them. Plus, Iran is seen as somebody who's masterminding all of this. What does this indicate? So that Israel's worst case scenario is already happening. So Israel's already wargaming the worst case scenario and dealing with it that way.
But the response to this,
what will it be? The worst that Hezbollah can do is escalate with more missiles.
Yes, but then this is going to lead to escalation.
Absolutely.
Also, the 8 dead that you were talking about, one of them is
a child.
Is the son of the leader.
So one is the son of a leader. One is the initial reports that came in seem to indicate that there's a 3-year-old child who was also killed. Apparently, on her father's lap or something when the explosion took place. And this is the information that's come out subject to verification, because we've been scanning through a lot of OSINT, a lot of other information that's coming in, a lot of news agencies and wires. So official information is 8 dead, 2750 injured, and this number could go up because the first information that came in was 200 injured, then it went up to 800 injured, then they said 1000 injured, then 1500 injured, now it's 2750. Maybe in the next couple of hours that number could go even higher, Geeta.
That's a huge number. And look at the city. The country is on alert. The city of Beirut and many other cities that have experienced these attacks are on alert right now. And I'll take you through what really happened just before I wrap up, because I'll ask Gaurav. I'll thank Gaurav here because he has to go for his show at 10. You can join us. We will be discussing the very same story on India Today as well. But this is the big story we'll be tracking here on India Today Global. So thank you so much, Gaurav.
Thanks, Geeta.
I'll just continue the conversation over here and just take you through exactly what is happening, which is basically let me take you through the details of this entire attack. Now, what's known so far after the mass pager explosion in Lebanon? There were simultaneous detonations of pager devices which occurred in Beirut, that's the capital city of Lebanon, and several other cities, which include leaving thousands of them injured. And the local media is saying that there is a high-tech impact, because we've seen how over here they're saying that it's the Israelis have focused on pagers this time. This is a communication device that many in the new generation, Gen Z, wouldn't even know if we gave them one as to how it can be used. But it is being used by extremist organizations who do not want to be caught or found, and are putting that entire communication network that they have. Now that network has come under attack because the Israelis planned it. They timed it. They knew exactly when this entire attack needs to be carried out. There was an entire consignment of pages that were bought, and they knew who are going to use it. So they used it against them only when this entire incident was planned to be executed. Now, these personal communication devices, according to reports, it started exploding around 3:30 p.m. local time in Lebanon, and they were done remotely. What we're given to understand is that it was they were targeting devices that were carried by Hezbollah members. But what also happened is that 8 people, including a child, have died as a result of the attack. And the Lebanese health minister has now declared that around 2,800 have been injured. 200 of them are critical. That's the information that's coming in. Media reports suggest that the attack mainly was targeted through the pager devices, and the highest number of incidents were recorded in Beirut's Dahiyeh neighborhood, the Bekaa Valley, and southern Lebanon. So we have three areas that saw maximum number. We also are given to understand that when we're talking about the Hezbollah, Hezbollah is part of the government in Lebanon as well. It's not just the militant or the military wing that is focused on taking on Israel. It's also the government and civilian dispensation, which is part of the government and the parliament in Beirut. So you are seeing a lot of the Hezbollah workers. Now, we don't know how the coordination takes place, but a lot of them in the city, the main capital city, who have also become part of the target, which means they were part of that entire pager circuit, the communication circuit that was being used by Hezbollah. The other thing that we're getting to understand right now is that, according to reports again, that the pages were allegedly hacked by Israeli intelligence services, causing batteries to overheat and then explode. This might not be the first time that such an incident is taking place. The number of injured might have crossed more than 2,800 right now. But again, like I said, this certainly does not seem like it's the first time that it has happened, based on some of the assessment that certain agencies are doing. In this alphanumeric pager by Gold Apollo Company Limited in Taiwan is what was being used. The labels match. And we will be sharing that OSINT, our own open source intelligence photographs, in some time from now. And these are the ones that are being used, that were being used by the Hezbollah members. Another very interesting thing that is coming out of it is that according to, again, Israeli media reports, that these were recently procured, not so very long ago, but some reports say a couple of months ago. Even if that were the case, the fact that they knew that this is a consignment that is going to Lebanon, no new generation or people who are into the corporate sector and so on and so forth, nobody today uses pagers. So who is using a pager? And why pagers still being manufactured? Who really wants to use a pager? It is very clear that it is happening because it is being bought and being used is because the device is a one-way communication device. The orders are sent. There is no way to go back and route back to see where the communication was generated from and where the communication between two entities were taking place. Now, this is a pulse generated via a pre-programmed malicious code in the batteries that triggered by a chipset on the board is how the entire thing functions. Pagers, mobile phones, GMPCS, portable two-way radios, etc. All of them work on different frequencies and network protocols. So they also know the frequencies that the pagers really work on. For mobile phones, the terrestrial tower network acts as a signal distributor and amplifier, not as a power source. Therefore, such explosions are necessarily linked to bursting batteries. So we're basically saying that it has nothing to do with the frequencies or the towers. It has to do with overheating. That's a process, a modus operandi in ensuring that this really is carried out in the manner in which they want it to be done. So these are reports that are coming in. We will be filling you in with all the details on the story. This is a very, very important story that we'll be tracking. Now, some of the people who have seen such cases in the past have also said that this is a remote-inspired overuse of any instrument that goes beyond a threshold and ends up exploding. That's the kind of methodology that was used to ensure that these pagers that were in one entire batch in consignment have explode at the very same time as they want the pages to explode. And another very interesting fact that, when the Stuxnet attack on nuclear centrifuges took place, more than 1,000 of them overheated and melted. So the exact same method is what some of the people who have been a part of the intelligence teams in various parts are talking about. So these are details that are coming in. We'll keep coming back to you for all the latest on what's really happening on the ground in Lebanon. Hezbollah health minister has come out and declared how many, about 2,750 or 80 who've been injured, of which 200 are critical. Hezbollah Hezbollah calls the Lebanon pager explosions criminal aggression by Israel and has now vowed punishment. Those are details that are just coming in. Israel will receive just punishment for this sinful aggression, whether it expects it or not, is what Hezbollah concluded in a statement. Those are details that are just coming in. And before I say goodbye over here, just the fact that Hezbollah has already said that they're determined that the reasons behind the mass explosion, they are not yet, there's no conclusive details that are out in finding out what was the reason behind the mass explosion. But yes, that Israel is behind it and that they are going to pay a very heavy price. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is currently holding a meeting with senior security officials in light of the explosions. And according to Israeli media, the agenda is possible retaliatory attack by Hezbollah on Israel. Exactly what we were discussing a while ago with Gaurav Sawant when we said that the attack has been carried out by Israel. We'll have to wait and see how Hezbollah reacts. And right now, as we speak, Prime Minister Netanyahu is holding a meeting to discuss future course of action, anticipating retaliation from Hezbollah. Those are details that are coming in from the attack, the pager attack that has been carried out by Israel on Lebanon soil. Thousands of them injured, 200 critical. We'll keep getting you details on what's happening on the ground here on India Today Global.